And now we welcome in to Houston Sports Show a legend. And I would say a legend in Houston, but he's a legend everywhere. Mr. Warren Moon, how's it going? Quarterback, how are you doing, sir?
Solomon, I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Excellent.
You're dealing with this whole pandemic like everybody else. It's a crazy time we're living right now.
Indeed. Well, I'll even start there real quick. What's your life like right about now? You just stuck in the house? Are you one of those who stayed in and trying to protect yourself?
I've tried to stay in as much as I can, and I'm not a homebody very much. Most of my work is on the road. I'm usually traveling all over the country, either doing speaking engagements or appearances or memorabilia shows or things like that. So this is really different for me to be home this long. I've been home a month and a half. This is probably the longest I've been home in years. But I'm trying to stay true to what the guidelines have been. You know, I do go to the grocery store like everybody else. And every day I'll go out in my car and I'll take me a long drive around just to get outside and see people. You know, I'm not exposing myself to anybody. I'm just driving by myself, but I do that every day just to have some sanity.
Yeah, and on some level, you're such a people person. You're a man of the people. That has to be a bit of a challenge for you not to interact as much.
It really is, and it's that way for us as a society. You know, we're a society that likes to socialize, and we like to go out and be amongst other people. We like to go to entertainment and sporting events and movies and concerts and different things like that. And all that's been taken away from us. And usually that's what you turn to when you're going through tough times. You turn to entertainment. Now we don't have the entertainment to go to when we're going through tough times. So it makes it doubly difficult.
All right, I got to be honest with you. One of the reasons I reached out, and I was going to anyway, and then a young man he's a great young journalist who's getting going in the business, and he's now covering the Dolphins. And he mentioned the thing on Twitter the other day that Tua Tagovailoa is wearing number 1, and he mentioned the other players that come in the league wearing number 1, and he said he thinks Tua is coming in with the biggest buzz of any number 1 in history. And I was like, whoa, young man. You don't know about Warren Moon. He came in with a bigger buzz than anybody, maybe even in league history on some level, because you came in as the highest paid player in the league, a quarterback who had already won championships, and no other black quarterback was starting at the time. It was a big deal. And I wonder, for you, on some level, do you find the youngsters don't know who you are as much? And then we see a Desean Watson who wears your jersey and wants to know about a quarterback like yourself.
You know, there are some guys who do know about me because if they had a dad in their life growing up, their dad usually kind of told them about me, like Cam Newton. He was a guy that knew about me because his dad knew about me. And he brought Cam to my football camp years ago at Disney World, and that's how I got a chance to know him. And Cam came into the league wearing number 1. And I don't know if it was all because of me, but I'm sure a lot of it for Cam, it was because it was a different number and nobody else was wearing it. But, you know, Tua comes into the league as well, and it's ironic that Tua is represented by the same guy that represented me when I came into the league, Lee Steinberg. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it either, but he couldn't get number 13 because of Dan Marino, so he chose number 1. And I think that's a pretty good second choice.
Mm-hmm. And along those lines, I'm going to talk to you about Lee Steinberg. And here in Houston, obviously, Desean Watson is a big name and a rising young star at quarterback. And he's about to get a contract extension. And Lee represents Patrick Mahomes, I think, as well, who's about to get one also. And I didn't know this, but in looking back at those before, I saw that when you came in, your contracts were fully guaranteed with the Oilers, you know, and that's almost unheard of these days. And people were freaking out. I saw some stories that said, what's his name, who left from the Redskins to the Vikings a couple years ago, was the first, fully guaranteed contract. And I was like, no, that wasn't the case. There were quite a few of them back in the day. Those days are no longer. Have you thought about how different the game is now in terms of the money situation?
You know, it's getting better as far as guaranteed money is. Guys are getting much bigger guarantees, much bigger percentage of guarantees of their contract. But back in the day when I came in, there wasn't any free agency. So you didn't have as much leverage. And what Lee did a great job of with me was he created a great bidding war for my services coming out of Canada because there wasn't any free agency at the time. So we had 7 teams that were seriously trying to get my services. So when you can have that type of leverage and that type of bargaining power as far as picking and choosing where you want to play, first of all, I got a chance to go to all those different cities and get wined and dined by all those clubs. And I also had a chance to have the money just, keep accelerating, and depending on who could go to a certain level, certain ones dropped off. So that's when it came down to Houston and Seattle, because they gave me the best financial packages. And the best financial package overall was Houston, because they guaranteed, like you said, the majority of my contract. And that's something that I was looking for at that stage of my career, because I had already played 6 years. I didn't know how much longer I was going to be able to play. So a financial package to me was very important at that time, as well as, where you were going to live and what team you were going to play for. But I didn't know if I was going to ever get another big contract opportunity. So it turned out differently, because I did play a lot longer, but I really wasn't sure, because most guys, if they played 10 years, 12 years in a career, that's a long career, but I was able to play a lot longer than that.
Yeah, that, like you say, because you were coming from Canada, you actually got to have that bidding war that most players in your era never got to see. Guys, their contract will run out, and the only team they could negotiate with was their own team. It's so different now.
Yeah, they had nowhere to go but that same team, and they were almost held hostage by that team. So it's changed a little bit now, because there is free agency, and because the amount of money that's generated from professional football with these TV contracts, it's amazing the amount of money these young guys are being paid, and I'm very happy for them.
Yeah, it's these are life-changing money. I mean, and yours was, it wasn't chump change, but boy, compared to now.
Okay. But for right now, these guys are talking about having $100 million guarantees of their contracts. I mean, that's like you said, generational money. That's money not only for their kids, but their grandkids and so on, if they take care of it. So this is a great time for these young guys, and hopefully they can take advantage of that by having great representation and make great decisions.
Yeah, I say, and back to that guy who didn't recognize how huge you were coming into the league. One of the things that I find interesting is the league has changed so much now, with everybody throwing the ball, and there wouldn't have even been room for a guy like Tua, 15 years ago on a certain level. And you were one of those people that we thought would change that, but it took a long time before they started looking at quarterbacks such as yourself.
Yeah, when we were in Houston running the run and shoot, and we started spreading everything out and playing 4 wide receivers all the time, everybody looked at that as like a gimmick, that they didn't think it would have any lasting power. Well, I think the thing that changed was maybe the tight end position became a little bit more of a pass catcher position, because you had these big guys at 6'3" to 6'6" that could also run almost like receivers. So you could have a tight end on the field at all times, but still have 4 wideouts and spread things out. And I think that's the only difference in what you're seeing now today compared to what we were doing with the run and shoot, which was all wide receivers. We had no tight ends on our roster. But all the raw combinations and things that I see that you see teams running today, those are things we were running back in 1990, and they have all been incorporated into different teams' offenses. So I like to think that we had a little bit to do with the innovation of what's going on in professional football right now, with the ball being thrown all over the field.
Would you say the biggest difference, though, is they could actually tackle you back in the day and hit you and body slam you? The quarterbacks now it's like you used to be in practice with the red jersey in a lot of ways.
They could hit everybody, believe it or not. They could hit me. They drive me to the turf. I mean, I looked at some of the hits that I took years after I was playing, just watching some highlights, and I was wondering, why did I ever want to play this game? The way my body was being thrown around sometimes. And same thing for receivers. I had smaller receivers like Ernest Gibbons and Drew Hill and guys like that running across the middle. And these guys are getting their noses broken. They're getting ribs cracked, because guys are able to take big shots at them, which is something you can't do anymore, which makes it a lot easier to throw the football.
Yeah, and you were one of the few quarterbacks, like you said, when you came into the league at the age you were, you didn't know how much longer you would be, but you were still thriving at 40. And are you amazed at what Tom Brady has been able to do, and what do you expect from him going forward here with the big switch to Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I'm not amazed, only because I knew that I did it, and in this day and age with all the supplements that you're have available to you, the way the training regimens are, the equipment, technology, and everything that's involved in sports. If you can stay away from major injuries and you still have the desire to play, you can continue to keep playing at a later age. And you look at Drew Brees, who's 40 years old. You look at Phillip Rivers, who's I think right around 40. Ben Roethlisberger is approaching that age as well. So there's a lot of guys playing a lot longer into their careers because, first of all, they're taking better care of the quarterbacks. They're not knocking them around as much, and right. the game has become a lot safer. But these guys are taking care of themselves, and they really know how to train and take care of their bodies. So I think the combination of all of that makes these guys able to play a lot longer.
What is your analysis of Desean Watson and his game?
I love Desean's game. I love the way he can be creative as a quarterback, but he can also throw the ball from the pocket. And the thing I like most about him is he plays his best football at the most important time of the game, at the end. When you need a big play, when you need big plays or big drives to be made, that's when he usually plays his best. And that's what you want your quarterback to be doing. And that's what he did at Clemson, and he's showing the same signs as he gets here into the NFL. The only thing I wish he wouldn't do is as much sometimes is hold the ball as much as he does and take some of the hits that he takes, because the best attribute for a quarterback is to be available for your team every week. And he's already had one major injury since he came into the league. So you want to make sure you're available for your team. So you want to take some of that wear and tear. But some of that makes him very special by being able to hold the ball like he does. So you don't want to take that completely away from him. But that's something that he has to get inside of his mind, that I've got to be able to throw the football away every now and then and not say I can make every play every time and take some wear and tear off of my body.
Yeah. How do you end up determining that as a quarterback? You want to hold on and make the big play versus just get rid of it and take that incompletion. You guys hate it when the ball hits the ground.
Yeah, it's just got to be a feel thing. And I think the more he plays into the league, the more veteran he becomes, the more experience he gets, he'll start to throw the ball away a little bit more and understand that I can come back at 2nd and 10 as opposed to being, 2nd and 15 or 2nd and 16 because I took a sack that I didn't need to take.
Now, it seems this time with, like you said, the pandemic and everything shut down, everyone is being asked about their Michael Jordan story. I mean, you were a star athlete in the time of Jordan. Do you have a Jordan tale for us?
I was a big, and still am, a huge basketball fan. So I was a Rocket season ticket holder. I went to tons of basketball games in the off season. So I got a chance to rub elbows with all those guys, whether it was Charles Barkley or Clyde Drexler or Michael Jordan. Had dinner with all those guys. Even had a chance to sit in one of Michael Jordan's card games. There's no way I was going to get involved in his card game because I wasn't dealing with those type of stakes at that time. And I'm not a big gambler anyway. But just to sit there and watch not so much how much money was on the table, but the trash talking that went on, that was the thing that I was so amused by, because athletes, when we get together, basically all we do is talk trash to each other. And when I got with either Charles or whoever, we always talked about who were the best athletes, whether it was football players or basketball players. So that was an ongoing thing that we always talked about. But with Michael, I was just amazed at how competitive he was, competitive at everything he does. And you're seeing it played out here with this Last Dance.
Indeed. Now, you talk about talking trash off the court and off the field. On the field, you weren't that much of a talker, right? You didn't go at DBs or defensive linemen, not in those days for sure.
No, I didn't, because they're going to have the last word with you. They have a chance to hit you. I can't retaliate and hit them. I think I had one fight in my career, and that was with Derek Thomas when he was a rookie for the Kansas City Chiefs. He gave me an extra shot after the play was over, after I had thrown the football, and I didn't like it very much. And I turned around and got in his face, and we got into it, and we're tussling on the ground. And
really,
we shook hands and apologized after that, and he became one of my close friends and a teammate later in my career. But that was the only time I really said I needed to set my mark to let this rookie know that he can't push around a veteran like me. And that was about the only fight I ever had during my career. So that's something you don't really want to do as a quarterback, because those guys can come back and retaliate at any time.
All right, I'm gonna have to look up that one. I don't remember that one at all.
Oh, it was a good one. I had him under his own bench. I grabbed his face mask and we went down to the bench and we ended up under their bench. And all my guys on my team said, Warren, next time you fight, make sure it's over on our sideline so we don't have so far to come to try and help you.
Hey, real quick, I mean, I know your daughter used to work with the Texans for a little bit. How is the family and everything?
They're doing really well. They're all living mainly in Southwest Houston, in Missouri City area. My daughter is a attorney with BP Oil now, doing very well. My other daughter does marketing for a private school, up north, and my son is working for Lexus. So I've got all my kids doing very well. I have 6 grandkids now, with one on the way. So I'm down in Houston a lot, and I visit them a lot and spend a lot of time with them. And I'm so glad that they're all healthy and doing well.
See, you look so young. I forget that you have been around for a minute.
Well, they don't call me granddad; they call me G Daddy. So I'm not ready for the granddad thing yet. I don't think I'm that old.
All right. On that note, thanks a lot, Warren. Definitely appreciate your time, sir. Always.
Well, I appreciate it, Jerome. Stay safe, my man.